So this week we're going to look at some personal experiences, some personal talks on what it's like to be practicing in this way, to be practicing in like being one of the hands of Avalokitesvara and serving in a way, serving something higher, something bigger. And also how this helps us, this encourages us to sort of take on challenges that we normally maybe wouldn't, how this helps us to go beyond our own limitations and grow from it. And in that line, we're going to have first Vicky. Vicky's going to tell us a personal experience. And then we've got Sanganath. Now, Sanganath's on there somewhere. There he goes. Hey, welcome Sanganath. So most of you won't know Sanganath, and he works for the Karuna Trust. So basically, I met him, and possibly Vicky's met him through doing Karuna appeals. So Karuna Trust basically works with the lower caste people in India. So there's tens of millions of people in India, and they raise a lot of money and do really sort of good projects there, really educational projects, and giving people a real hand out of very difficult situations. And Sanganath himself is somebody who's received this benefit from Karuna. So he met Karuna, and it was just so. Yeah, he's grown from there really, and part of me wants to call him a flower of Karuna, because he's grown from the benefits of Karuna, and now he's just blossomed into a beautiful order member that I personally find very inspiring, as he lives his life working for the Karuna Trust and basically trying to return this benefit he's received to all the other people. Like his heart is burning with this desire, and he's dedicated his life to helping other people, people in the situation he was in when he was growing up. So yeah, he's a wonderful inspiration to many of us that know him. And tonight he's here to tell us about his story in a way, and also how he works with the Karuna Trust, how he practices working for a bigger project, something bigger than himself. And also, tell us a bit about, we all know the situation in India is particularly critical at the moment, and it's really difficult for people. The really urgent help is needed. And he's going to tell us a bit about the power of these appeals, Karuna appeals, where people volunteer to go for fundraising for Karuna Trust. And either on phone or door-to-door knocking as used to be, which is what we've done in a way, go to door-to-door knocking to raise money for people in India. And what a powerful transformative practice actually that is. Just, so we really can grow from that, as well as provide this amazing benefit to people, in India and Nepal as well, actually. He's going to tell us a bit more about that and how it's affected him. And then, I've got a short talk at the end of that as well. And also, it's worth mentioning that when we have the groups, there will be an opportunity, like Sanganath is going to lead a group for people either in here or on Zoom, so it'll be hybrid in a way. If anyone wants to learn more about these appeals, what's happening, how does it work, and if you want to ask more questions about Karuna and his work. Do go to that group. So you can ask some questions to Sanganath and find out more about it. But now I think I'll leave it to Vicky.
Oh no, I look really short. Would you turn my mic down a little bit, Edward? Thank you. This is from the Bodhisattva by Shantideva. I am the protector of the unprotected and the caravan leader for travelers. I have become the boat, the causeway, and the bridge for those who long to reach the further shore. May I be a light for those in need of light. May I be a bed for those in need of rest. May I be a servant for those in need of service, for all embodied beings. As a blind man might find a jewel in heaps of rubbish, so too has this awakening mind has somehow appeared in me. This is the elixir of life, born to end death in the world. This is the inexhaustible treasure, alleviating poverty in the world. This is the supreme medicine, curing the sickness of the world, a tree of shelter for weary creatures staggering along the road of existence. So my talk is how I am a hand of Avalokitesvara, and I thought I would start by saying why anyone would want to do that, and basically why I want to be in service of the three jewels. So essentially, the Dharma will be the end of all suffering in the world, as all suffering in the world is caused by greed, hatred, and delusion. And of course, we need the really practical help that so many amazing people are doing to alleviate suffering right now. But the root cause of suffering is greed, hatred, and delusion. And Buddhism is the way that we can end suffering. And Buddhism is seeking to destroy the root cause. So I'm not going to end suffering all on my own. And if I tried, I'd probably break into 1,000 pieces and maybe get put back together, but I'd have some extra arms, so that would be cool. But luckily, I'm not doing it on my own. I can contribute in my own way to the thing that will alleviate suffering, which is the three jewels, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And this is how I'm a hand of Avalokitesvara. So how do I serve the Buddha? I serve him by following his teachings that have been passed down and by learning about his life so that I can better understand his teachings. I can serve the Buddha by thinking of his qualities, bringing them to mind, and in doing that, I can aspire to act more like him, more like an enlightened being, and bring more kindness to the world. And I can serve the Buddha by meditating, actually, by developing my meditation practice in which I become closer to understanding the nature of reality, which the Buddha did through meditation, gaining enlightenment all those years ago. And I can serve the Buddha by developing my connection to him, but also to the other transcendental beings that are the mythological figures that represent enlightenment. So I have a particular love of Green Tara, and I can serve her, who is a representation of the Buddha's enlightenment, by developing a connection and trying to act more like her in the world. So for me, she is the epitome of Karuna, which is compassion in action. So that's how I can be more compassionate in the world, by bringing Tara to mind and trying to act in the way that she might in the world. So how do I serve the Dharma? So I serve the Dharma by studying it and by reading it and by learning it. And I am serving the Dharma by doing this because the more I study, the more I'm able to teach it, the more I'm able to tell people about what I've learned, what the Buddha taught, and I can get better at communicating it, and that will serve the Dharma and it's spreading out across the world. And I can serve it by teaching or even just volunteering on introductory courses, by being a friendly face here. And that really, I can see how that really alleviates suffering, because the amount of people that have come to a course, including me, and it's just made me and so many people so much happier in the world. So that's a really key way of doing it. And I can serve the Dharma by developing my practice of the precepts. And this is kind of my ethical sensitivity, and I can serve the Dharma by acting more and more in more skillful ways and becoming more aware to the negative effects that happens when I act unskillfully. So how do I serve the Sangha? I can serve the Sangha by volunteering, as many people do, at anything that we have going on, including the garden party, not the summer fair. And I can help serve the Sangha by organising things, which I love to do. And I can organise things that go on at the centre for more people to attend and engage more. And I serve the Sangha by living in a community, actually. I live in a community with other Buddhists. And this is what I contribute to this community by allowing a space where we can be together in an intense situation and develop our practice together. And this is serving Sangha by contributing to this space that I'm in. I can serve the Sangha by developing my friendships. So the Sangha is a group of friends, and what Buddhism is doing is allowing more love to spread across the world, and what better way than to have more friends and love more people. So that's how I'm serving in that way. And I can serve the Sangha by coming to Sangha night. I can serve the Sangha by coming to events at the centre, by coming to festival days, just by turning up, because if nobody turned up, then we just wouldn't have a Sangha. Yeah. So I think that's all I wanted to say, really. I just wanted to give a little practical and personal way in which I believe that I'm a hand of Avalokitesvara, and just to show that it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be like really impressive. You don't have to stand up here and give 45-minute Dharma talks, and that's the only way. There's so many different ways of contributing, and everybody can do it no matter what your situation or what's going on for you. You can always be a hand of Avalokitesvara and help to alleviate suffering in the world.
I'll just go over to Sangha now straight.
Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful talk, Vicky. And thanks a lot for inviting me tonight, actually, and welcoming to your Sangha. I wish I could be standing in front of that beautiful shrine, actually, beautiful Buddha. And this is one of my dreams. I wanted to always visit Sheffield Buddhist Center, but I never have visited before. So in a way, this is the first time, at least I'm visiting Sheffield Buddhist Center, which is brilliant, so beautiful, the shrine. And thank you so much for especially emphasizing on Karuna's work tonight, and beautifully expressed and summarized by my friend earlier, Maitrivasin. So thank you, Maitrivasin. You beautifully introduced me very well as well. Please send me a message if I go over 8 minutes, because although I live in UK last 15 years, I'm still Indian. I can talk hours and hours. So please remind me if I go over. So really tonight, I'm just going to give a really personal talk about my journey working with Karuna. So my name is Sanganath, and I work for Karuna last 11 years. But really, I'm 38 years old, but most of my life actually I spent working in Three Ratna context in a Buddhist right livelihood since when I was in India. But particularly I want to emphasize tonight is one of Karuna's project reached to my village in a small village of India. They were running activities for kids, teaching songs and singing and drama and so on. And also there were some activities run by Three Ratna older members as well, teaching meditation and so on. But particularly this couple of projects from Karuna reached my village. I came in contact with that project. And because of I was very young as a child, 9 years old, I come across this project, and incredible actually. I connected with through that project, through Karuna's work and Three Ratna as well. Every week, the Thursday was the best evening for me. Just used to looking forward to go to this project, these classes myself. And I can tell you a lot more about how I benefited from this particular project. I can give you a list of examples really how I actually benefited from this project when I was in India. But short story, I benefited and I got involved with Three Ratna, and then in 2007, 2005, I came to UK. I worked in Windows Evolution. And then I was always curious about Karuna, how they work in UK, how they raise money in UK. So I took unpaid holiday. I done my first Karuna appeal. And that's how I got involved with Karuna in UK as well. And really, this is giving me a little bit insight into how our action has consequences, how our action will impact people. So really, I can really see that now. Doing Karuna Appeal, you can raise money. That money will go to India. I really don't like using this word money. I think I like using word generosity. That generosity goes to India. People like me help in India. Millions of people like me actually benefit from that work. And then I became one of change as well. Then one of child benefited from this work, but also I became instructor later on. And also I used to lead some classes for other children as well. So in a way, this is giving me a little bit example insight when I reflect on my own journey about actually how our efforts, our action impacts in the world. Yeah. And in a way, this is also, I will say this is a bit like a vision of Avalokitesvara, how actually impacting our actions in the world. There's so many things I benefited from Karuna's work and doing Karuna Appeal, but maybe a couple of things I will say tonight, mainly because of this evening is about Avalokitesvara and going beyond ourselves. So just two quick reflection I will actually share with you about Karuna Appeal. So first reflection is really about power of community. When I reflect about Karuna, we got something like more than 8,000 existing supporters, existing regular supporters. We are about 20 people work in UK, in London, in UK, in Cambridge, like me as well. And there's something about more than 300-400 people work in projects in India and Nepal. And something like between 20 and 30 people do volunteering work in UK. They commit for 6 weeks doing Karuna Appeal, more than between 20 and 30 people. And we raised something like, first time in Karuna history, we raised more than £2 million last year. And that money has influenced many, many thousand people in India, especially at the moment in crisis. There's a huge crisis happening in India. And in a way, what I would say, the power of community, power of people coming together is powerful. In a way, this is a work is not done by one hand. This work has done by many, many thousands of people coming together and doing something for the world. That's how it has. When I reflect on this little incident about just giving example of Karuna, how many people are behind this vision is involved actually. One of our project partner last week came and give an amazing presentation actually. His organization called Saha. Saha means people's courage. And he has liberated thousands and thousands of people from doing manual scavenging work, people who forced to clean the toilets in India. And he has literally liberated them through his work, through his project. Many, many thousands of people, asking them to just stop this. You don't have to do this and do something else. And that's kind of one example, really, how power of community, how our actions together can influence people, liberate people in India and Nepal. Second thing I wanted to just emphasize on, there's something about going beyond ourselves in order to help others. I think when I do Karuna Appeal, I've done so many Karuna Appeal, but on every Karuna Appeals, I have experienced resistance to go out, meet people, communicate with them day after day, always have felt resistant. And actually, in a way, that resistance, I always felt as habitual, it's really habitual resistance to do things or wanting to contribute or go out beyond my limit, But also, I think people on the doors, householders also has a resistance. They actually don't want to open up with strangers. They don't want to be kind of give themselves fully on strangers, people like me or people like volunteers. But they also come forward. They go beyond the resistance. I go beyond my resistance. We come together and we meet together, and there's something beautiful happens. And in a way that generosity happens, I would call, in my word really, it's like a Buddha nature. Because of these two beings, volunteers and householders go beyond the resistance. They give something to the project by giving regular gift. I would say that's kind of power up, kind of, well, that's kind of, I will say that's a generosity, is a Buddha nature for me. So really, there's something about, if we are able to go beyond our resistance in order to help others. So many people in India, actually, I realized last year, so many protests happens in India and worldwide, actually. There's an atrocity happened in India, and people just came out on the street, even in the middle of COVID-19 crisis, and even they didn't really care about if they will die or so on, but they came out and protest about this particular incident. And I think there's something about going beyond ourselves in order to kind of serve bigger purpose. I can't really give you a better example than Dr. Ambedkar, how he gave himself in order to serve higher purpose in the world. Even though he had a lot of threats, he could have killed, but he really couldn't stop. He consistently gave himself to serve higher purpose, liberate people from caste system and so on. So in a way, I can't give a better example than Dr. Ambedkar. So in a way, this is a kind of little bit explanation how I benefited from Karuna's work and how I see Karuna feels impacting in the world, and becoming one of a practical example of Avalokitesvara's hand. So thank you very much for giving me time. I know I got a little bit 8 minutes already. Yeah, thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you, Sanganath. Yeah, thank you, Vicky, as well. Yeah, it's lovely to hear from different hands of Avalokitesvara, aspiring hands to be better and better hands. So I've got a few minutes to say a few things that that came up to me when I was reflecting on this topic. So looking at what's my experience of trying to be my better and better hands of Avalokitesvara. And I was thinking, when I first came across the word serving, there was a bit of resistance. I wasn't too keen on it. I've got some judgments on it. Serving to me is like, why would I want to serve? What's that about? And then when I meditated a bit and reflected on a bit, I realized that actually I've spent all my life serving. I have spent all my life serving, and in a way I didn't have a choice. But I realized I have a choice in what I serve. And I realized I'd spent all my life serving, basically, like my cravings for sense pleasure, my cravings for belonging, praise, and status or gain and things like that, and trying to avoid this fear of. So I was driven by and almost basically serving this fear of rejection or fear of pain and being blamed and things like that. So in a way, I've spent all my life serving. I just didn't realize that's what I was doing. So in servitude to these Vedanas, what we can call like Vedanas, these initial responses, if you remember from the first few weeks of the course. So what I realized when I came here and I came across the Bodhisattva ideal is that actually I can choose something much bigger than myself to serve, because all these things hadn't really satisfied me. They hadn't really satisfied me, and it left me quite despondent with life. So when I came across the Bodhisattva ideal, it was a kind of like, here's something I could put my heart in, really, really called my heart out to serve something bigger, something that benefits me and all. And this drew my whole being out. So I've just, since then I've been trying to do that more and more, and realizing, a lot of that is actually learning to be a better hand of Avalokitesvara, not just go out there always trying to help others, also growing myself. So in this journey, there's a few things I've come across I'd like to share that and one of them, I suppose, was quite early on. So in a way, I realized like serving and being part of something bigger is quite it's quite involving, quite engaging. So when I first started coming, I'd sit in the back of the Great Hall, listen to things, have a cup of tea or something, and then go home. And it was beneficial, but it was something that wasn't quite right. And that really started to change when I got involved. So I'd see, at the end of the night, somebody needs to tidy the kitchen. Well, why don't I help with that? Somebody needs to do, why don't I help with that? I can do that. And then just, found this desire to want to get involved. So in a way, like for me, service is connecting and involving. So like to really serve something, it drove me out to actually take part in it. So that's a really important part for me for service, and that's really something that I think I wouldn't really go to any restaurant or something and go and pick up the dishes and take it to the back. I do that down a cafe without even thinking, because I feel I'm a part of it. I feel it's part of something that's serving something bigger, and I don't have to worry about. I can go put the dishes at the back. I've even gone and registered my own dinner, paid for it, and then ate it and washed the dishes afterwards. In a way, it's just like there's something beautiful about that connectivity of serving something bigger. It involves, and it really breaks down that self and other sort of separation when you actually just get into something. When you get into something and volunteer, take part of it. And I think, I wouldn't do that in normal conditions. I wouldn't do that in the world where there's a service provider and a user kind of thing. It just doesn't call that out, doesn't do that for me. But there's something about serving something bigger that really calls it out. So it helps me grow into taking responsibility and taking part and getting involved. Another one, I think that's quite important and valuable to mention is like serving something bigger. And in a way, serving the Sangha for me, it's quite challenging. So it's not just all pleasurable and laughter. There is a lot of challenges when we come to our limitations, when we come to the edges of our comfort zones. It does take a lot to go out of it. Actually, it does take a lot. It's quite challenging, and in many conditions, I would not do that. I'd in a way. I mean, there's a big part of me, like everyone who knows me and works with me knows, every time there's a talk or something, I kind of do it, but there was like, I could feel a little child inside me having a tantrum about not wanting to do these sort of things. And under normal conditions, I would just not do it. But because I want to aspire to, and I want to serve something bigger, I can sort of, in that context, I can take that fear on. I can take that resistance on, as Sanganath was talking about, that resistance. You can just really do it. And also doing Karuna appeals as well. I mean, it was just going up to somebody's door. And I remember as a little kid sort of tried out giving some kind of catalogs and trying to make sales door to door. And I never even went to collect the first lot I delivered, because I just could not do it. Money and stuff wasn't motivation enough, and I couldn't do it. But with Karuna appeals, there's something about doing it for other people, to benefit other people as well, that really kind of helps me hold that fear in kind of a kindness, or something that makes it manageable. It just puts it into a size that's manageable almost. So it's really drawn me to be able to go and knock on doors in London for 6 weeks and asking people for money, and really work with rejection. And most people, I think, don't like the sense of rejection, but it was just like rejection after rejection, and it was just great. I could go, this is quite painful. Part of me just rather go home, but actually I just read the booklet I was giving out and then go, no, I want to carry on. And it was just such a good practice of realizing I am a lot stronger than I am, and I'm a lot more capable than I am, and I can be of a lot more benefit than I think I am. And that's all part of being part of something bigger and serving something bigger, because personally I couldn't do it for myself. And even though it's incredibly challenging at times, it's the most meaningful, most fulfilling, and most sort of empowering practice as well, serving something higher and bigger than myself. I think I'll leave it there. Thank you. Do another